Yeah, I thought of starting this episode with sunglasses on and trolling you, saying I can't go into public anymore because we're TikTok famous. Just have to wear sunglasses now.
That's funny.
But yeah, we got like 23,000 views on that, and I think what happened was it somehow was able to target other therapists, and then I think EMDR is just a hot topic in general, and people just think it's like magic, but there's stuff going on underneath that creates these outcomes. There was a couple of people that seemed to have really strong opinions about other theories within what you're talking about.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah. There are a lot of underlying theories. I mean, I think what EMDR has not been able to, the research about EMDR has not been able, science has never settled. Let me just start there. Science has never settled.
Yep.
And so a lot of the research is leaning towards working memory theory, but that's not like the definitive answer as to why EMDR quote works. It's just a strong possibility that it's contributing factor.
At no point when you were talking did I think you were saying this is the definitive rationale for this now.
And that's the problem with sound bites, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's the inherent nature of sound bites.
I had to educate someone on that. I said, I've had to edit this down to 45 seconds, and you're not going to get a summary of an entire therapeutic theory in that bite.
You cannot summarize.
If you want to bitch about it, watch the full fucking episode. I mean, goddamn, like, get your panties out of a fucking wad.
I mean, the research has been going on since 1989. There's no way you can summarize that in 45 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to not get defensive when you read these comments out loud.
No. Yeah, let's see. Let's share. Let's see. A tab.
Oh yeah, I love it how my face always looks so distorted.
Well, that looks, it's zoomed in.
I'm just teasing.
If you could stay further away, it might help. But so these are the first couple. I did notice this. So apparently, a lot of the EMDR therapists said that the founder, had written a book and said in a quote that she would have named it reprocessing therapy.
Oh yeah. The last book that was published before Dr. Shapiro died, I believe it was dated either 2018 or 2019. And I don't know if it was in that book or one of the original books that came out a few years prior, but she has said a lot of things about wanting to having to rename it, but like Xerox or Jif peanut butter, EMDR has kind of been branded and the name just stuck.
Yeah.
Wait. Go back to La Consejera. Consejera. Yeah, up. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah. Getting past your past. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's some juicier ones somewhere around here. There was also an influx of people talking about how that's been what you were describing is beneficial for clients that also have ADHD.
Yeah, because
and then the use of buzzers.
Okay. As a therapist trained in EMDR, now you primarily use IFS. What it does is use bilateral stimulation, eye movements, tapping, rocking, mimics to. Okay, so the mimics REM. That has been a point of contention with the Dutch researchers because the research has never definitively been able to say that yes, it mimics REM. That is just the underlying. That was like the original theory that when Francine Shapiro published her paper back in like 1989, 1990, maybe even 1991, like every good modality has to have an underlying theory. And so she turned to her colleagues, and her colleagues were like, okay, well, maybe it mimics REM. So that's been something that's been continuously researched, but there hasn't been research that rules it out either. It's just not been quote unquote proven.
This fucking person with the dog as a Paul's 1989.
This is not at all accurate. What is not accurate? We have dismantling studies that show the bilateral components add nothing to the efficacy. Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I don't know about accurate because, like I said, the science is never settled. So dismantling studies that show the bilateral components add nothing to the efficacy. I think what she's trying to say is that you don't have to have bilateral stimulation literally to tax the working memory. And yes, that is true.
I think what she's trying to say is she's very arrogant.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm hearing is you've read something and you think you know everything now and everyone else is an idiot. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, you would spend weeks upon weeks reading through EMDR's research. I mean,
yeah.
Because the EMDR is the repository for a lot of the research. Yeah, it does feel like magic. Definitely. Thank you for spending your time responding to the comments. I mean, that's not exactly free.
Yeah. We've got another smart guy on here. Dr. Jeffrey Whitaker, PhD. I like it when people make sure everyone knows you have a PhD on their titles.
Okay, so 31 people hearted this comment. This comment in and of itself doesn't say anything. So the bilateral stimulation in EMDR adds little to effect size. The active ingredient, no, that doesn't make any sense. The mechanism of change is what I'm trying to say. The research has not definitively proven nor disproven that the mechanism of change is bilateral stimulation. But what is the mechanism of change that has largely been supported in the research and the literature is the working memory, taxing the working memory. So you can't just replace a negative cognition with a preferred positive cognition and call it a day, because if that were the case, anybody talking to themselves in their mirror could be like, today I'm not going to believe I'm worthless. I'm going to believe I have value. How do you get the brain to have an embodied belief that that is true? Like, how do you get the brain and all versions of you to buy into a change in belief schema? Well, that is therein lies the mystery. That is the working, that has why taxing the working memory is so valuable. But you're right, bilateral stimulation in and of itself is not the mechanism of change. Because anybody, if that were true, you could just walk around and just tap on yourself and fix your thoughts. That's not how that works.
That's what people with autism try to do.
Well, I mean, it would be great if that worked.
It's tapping.
Oh, wait. Go. That looks like there's some arguing between people. Or is it you?
No, it's the fucking Paul's 1989.
His PhD is in marriage, family, child. Okay, so now we're getting into some debates between ourselves about I'm trying to scroll myself. Go up. Okay. All right, stop there. Okay. Right, just do prolonged exposure or CPT, cognitive processing therapy. I don't know what CPT is. I'm not educated on that. His PhD is in marriage and family, child and adolescent therapy. Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm so tired of people acting like EMDR is revolutionary when it just took what works from existing first-line PTSD treatments and added vibes and fancy advertising. Oh, that's an unfortunate response because that's just rooted in ignorance.
You read my comment.
Did you have breakfast today?
I was over her. She's just fucking negative, like constantly.
No,
Jesus.
who
are you angry with?
exactly.
You need some fucking EMDR.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Username. Yeah, that's why my therapist sometimes has me count out loud or spell my name while doing bilateral movements. It's taxing the working memory even more. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad she has some understanding. No, you're not entering a trance state. That is, as I've told people, I am not trained in hypnotherapy. Okay, the taxing the working memory is only one theory supported by the empirical research. Yes, correct. There are 4 main theories about how EMDR works that currently have a lot of empirical evidence. This isn't the whole. Okay, this is where you had to say that this isn't the whole story and is a harmful narrative to push. Oh, that's sad. Harmful narrative. That's so hyperbolic.
Yeah, well, I said this is 55 seconds, and then I said, what is harmful about the information? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad. My God,
sounds like they're easily activated, and they might be able to benefit from. I'm not even going to read this shit. I'm just ranting.
Yeah.
I said it's difficult to share the entire framework of current EMDR modality on a TikTok reel. Check out the full episode wherever you listen to podcasts.
See, that's exactly right. I think you just need to copy and paste that remark to everybody. Oh, okay. Shawnee wrote, I have to say it's the most positive I've felt towards EMDR maybe ever because it feels a lot more accurate to what may be happening and why dismantling studies lean us more towards this is just another form of exposure therapy. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good point. So yes, there is an exposure element to EMDR. There has to be, because you have to be exposed to what activates you in order for your brain to put it in its working memory. Like
Right.
you cannot not be activated. You have to have some measure of activation. Now, a good therapist is going to stay in tune as to whether or not you're within your window of tolerance. But yes, you have to have some measure of activation. Otherwise, I mean, if you just let your mind think about, I mean, that gets into the theory about the flash technique, but that's a different subject for another day. I mean, you can't, if you're trying to work on, a fear of tight spaces, but you're only thinking about puppies and kittens, it may not be effective because you're not exposing yourself to the fear.
To the actual stimulus.
Yeah, to the stimulus, exactly. So like in EMDR 2.0, it's like a 3-step model. First is motivation. You have to develop motivation within the client to focus on the unpleasant thing. And then the second element is activation. So you have to activate, or as they say in regular EMDR, access and activate that which is disturbing, the disturbing content, in order for somebody to focus on it. So yeah, that is the exposure. And it's very interesting because I had this one client who had a fear of processing a very painful childhood memory. And she said, Melissa, I trust you because I know you're not going to open up the jar and just throw the spider on me. So yeah, there is going to be a measure of exposure, but there's a way to do it in a very limited capacity so that people don't get flooded or overexposed.
Yep. And then their nervous system can't handle it and they get into that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn state.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, to be fair, a lot of deeper work is happening regardless of theory in a similar fashion. Like as a therapist, if you're doing any kind of trauma work with a client, you're introducing something hard, but in a way that is safe, and you're measuring their level of distress, their level of work maybe they've already done prior to the pain, to then incorporate it into the sessions.
Yes. Yeah.
So like regardless of modality, if we're doing intentional trauma work with a client, we're operating in those similar factions or belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny. if you separate entire like theories, we're operating similarly. And then you have people within one theory that are saying, oh, that's inherently wrong in this theory. You need to do this, this, or this. But it functions, and even when we're completely independent of theory, it functions similarly. So when you're in the same one, it's kind of silly to like get really bent out of shape about some nuanced protocol and say like that's harmful to a client. That's fucking nuts.
Exactly. Because if you become so dogmatic like that, then it's almost like you're programming yourself with your own cognitive bias. And then how do you keep a flexible mind to constantly learn and invest in yourself? And that's what I want to constantly do, is to keep an open, flexible mind and invest in myself, keep learning so that my understanding of what it is I'm doing is constantly changing and improving. You can't get married to one underlying understanding of what you're doing and then stick with it for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, because you read one study that confounded other beliefs.
That confirmed one. Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't want to get into confirmation bias. I mean, who wants to go to a dentist that's using 1985 technology and 1985 understanding of dental medicine? Nobody. You want to go to people who are constantly investing in themselves and training and learning and growing.
Yeah. See if there's anything else interesting here. Yeah, exposure therapy, reprocessing therapy.
Yeah, knee tapping, that comment about knee tapping. Exactly. You can use knee tapping over eye movements because some people can't handle the eye movements. Like, I have clients who have a seizure disorder and eye movements could potentially trigger a seizure. So we do tapping instead. And then I have other clients who have like sensory processing issues, and the tapping just drives them bananas. It's like they can feel the echoing through their body. So instead we do more like EMDR 2.0 stuff.
This comment's funny from VPC2491. It's all caps. It's just imaginal exposure with pseudoscience bells and whistles. And I said, why are you yelling?
Okay, so imaginal exposure. Yes, it is imaginal exposure, because how else do you get somebody to reprocess a memory to sexual trauma but through imaginal exposure?
Unless you're Dutch and you bring dildos into the session.
Exactly. And they can get away with that culturally in a way that an American could not. An American in the South.
There's a comment.
Yeah,
Tetris.
pseudoscience.
That's interesting.
Tetris. Oh yeah, the Tetris. People have used Tetris too. And that's to tax the working memory.
And then this is just a spam one. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, someone's proselytizing to us. That's so nice. In 2 languages. Looks like English and French.
Yeah. So did a good job with that one.
Yay. Well, thank you for investing your time to respond.
Yep. That's probably a big part of why it kept spreading.
Yeah, so I brought my EMDR 2.0 training, like my reactions to it, to my consultation. And, my consultant had a really good point. She's like, EMDR 2.0 is fabulous, but in and of itself, the protocol in and of itself does not work on belief schemas, or does not like thoroughly address belief schemas, especially related to shame. And that's okay. It's like you have to have multiple tools in your toolbox to be able to pivot to address the needs of the client in the moment. And I think that has what my journey with EMDR has challenged me to do. Like today, for example, I was in a reprocessing session with a client, and she was harboring a lot of shame about this event from her childhood. And so, knowing that she's got really great relationships with the children in her family, I said, I want you to use like the voice you use to talk to those children, and go back in time and talk to yourself the way you would talk to the children that, you currently have relationships with. And she was able to do it. And it really brought that memory down to a 0, because she was able to it helped her develop more compassion for herself and see that this event that happened, she was just a kid, and you can't accuse kids of being, quote, stupid. I think a lot of adults, and I know I've been guilty of this as a mother, of like having this reaction to your kid and be like, are you stupid? But of course that comes from like the parent's own fear. But sometimes
Did I raise a
kids can
stupid
harbor.
child?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what
Like
they're
then
contending with.
kids harbor that themselves. And they learn shame, and that's and so that's what we were addressing today, was the shame for making a mistake.
Yeah, I think that's important to develop any kind of strategy to where we can revisit those child parts and like whatever framework makes sense for the client. And it can look different based on the client and their own perspective and history.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that seems to be where a lot of profound work happens. So it's revisiting those child wounds and then healing parts of those selves and finding a way to reintegrate back into like that adult version or body.
Yeah. There is EMDR in a nutshell. That's exactly right. Like when you're working with belief schemas, absolutely. It's like the 80-20 rule, the 80% of our reaction in the here and now is really related to the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're trying to get to, is figure out the origin story of certain negative core beliefs that create PTSD responses.
I could share something that happened this weekend that's interesting. I was observing a mother. I was at a camp out, and a lot of them are people that I know through the years or through my own area. But there's also a number of people that I've never met that are from it was up in Virginia. So people from Tennessee, Virginia were there as well. It was later one night, and this mother, probably in her mid-20s, had her kid. Well, let's zoom back out a bit. My first experience of her was like midday. And I was like, what the fuck is she wearing? She was wearing like almost see-through top and just had huge tits and makeup all over, like very much presenting, and didn't really know anyone there. So I was like, that's a bold move. Like, what's going on there? Like, what have you learned about like your body and the way that you interact with strangers? It was perplexing,
like your
to me.
value that you bring to a social situation when you don't know the men that are there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, shut the fuck up, Evan. Don't think about that. You're at a camp out. But yeah, of course I was thinking of that. I'm like, that would be something to explore in therapy. Then late that night, I was by the fire, and her son was in the tent about 30 feet away from the fire. He starts crying.
How old do you think the little boy was?
In between 6 and 10. I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
Over toddler, but not adolescent.
Okay.
A little in between. And she just became severely dysregulated and had her like hands in her forehead and like hair and like it's bent over, and ultimately went over back to the tent and just had this anger reaction and literally said, I'm going to beat your ass, while this kid is crying in the tent and is yelling back and forth. He's still crying. And then she comes back and is like shouting kind of back to him, people are out here. This is something that happens with mothers often that I've noticed, is like if their child is acting out, they get very, very sensitive to how that might be distracting or annoying other people, and they put a lot of pressure on themselves to like make that stop for others. Yeah. So I get that, but she ultimately, instead of going back to tent, she went into someone's camper for a while and I guess calmed down a bit. And then the kid's still crying, and one of the other guys goes over and talks to him for a while, and she comes back out and sits down and is ashamed of her behavior. And there's two parts, right? Obviously, that's a window of interaction that's 5 minutes as opposed to 24 hours in a day. And I think what I was observing is compounded stress. So she was having to be on and with this kid all day and needed a moment to decompress and wasn't given it, and then lashed out because he's taking that from me.
Is she a single mom?
She was right then. I think she has 50-50.
So yeah,
custody.
She's a single mom regardless. That's still being
When
a
she
single
has
mom.
them. Yeah.
But still, I mean, if you don't have like a partner who can parent with you in a moment,
Yeah, it's
then
way
yeah,
harder.
then you're a single mom. That's really sad. Oh.
Yeah, so I had to, like, I try to just acknowledge, hey, that's a moment, and you have like a taxed nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't worry about it, because it wasn't really up to me in that moment to like help process all that.
Did you say that to her?
I didn't say the processing part, but yeah, I said I tried to validate that she, like, that's a moment, and we all have our limits.
Yeah, well, that was good of you.
But
you
I
got to
didn't.
reduce that shame.
Yeah, even though I didn't believe it, because I was like, man, you should never say that regardless. Like, put a fucking orange in your mouth. And it's like, you have to be able to remember that regardless of your emotion, the kid has a big emotion and is scared or something, needs to experience comfort. So if you want your kid to stop crying in that moment, it's not going to be from talking them through it or setting some kind of boundary or limit. It's going to be creating emotional and physical comfort.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way. So you can tell them, people aren't even hanging out here, or they're not fun out here anyway. He felt like he was being left out, right? Tell him all this stuff. None of that fucking matters. And it doesn't matter when you do that with an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if an adult is in some emotional space and you send them all this logic, that's why a lot of women fucking hate men.
Why?
That's like a chief complaint with a woman, is that men primarily respond with logic and reason when they're in an emotional state. It's like one of the number one complaints in couples therapy, or even when I see women individually. But in all actuality, they do probably something similar. That's, I think, a human thing, is because if I'm responding to you in emotion, I'm often not in the emotion. And so I can see logic and reason.
So in your observation of the situation, this mother was trying to shut down her son's emotions.
Yes.
Like she was damming up a flood, as opposed to, co-regulating with him, empathizing with him, trying to help him, understand his own feelings.
Yeah, and shut down the emotion, but with her own, by also trying to,
by getting scarier,
comfort her own feelings. So the anger and rage was trying to do two things: shut down his emotion, but also shut down hers of, like, shame.
Yeah.
I can't handle this anymore. I'm a bad mother because I feel so erratic and in distress. I shouldn't feel like I want to beat him in this camp out right now. I shouldn't feel this hatred. And I think that's a big unfortunate part of culture here, is we're not allowed to acknowledge that outwardly. But I think it's a very common feeling.
Not allowed to acknowledge what outwardly?
Like, in the moment, hatred towards your child.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, she may not have put words to it, but she was definitely expressing it, it sounds like.
But it was shame evoking, right? Because
maybe, I mean, we're assuming.
Yeah, but we're not
anger,
allowed to say our kids are fucking annoying, or that sometimes we wish we'd just drop them back off at the hospital.
Well, I think she was, it kind of sounds like she was reacting to that internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
But saying it out loud wouldn't have been appropriate at that moment in time either.
No, but I'm saying it seems as though having all of those feelings evoked more shame, which then created an anger reaction.
That, or as the psychiatrist I used to work with at the jail, he used to say, anger overrides confusion. So if she was feeling internally confused as to what's really going on with her kid, and that's
True.
probably an ongoing thing,
Yeah.
because she sounds like she lacks attunement with him.
And self-awareness.
And self-awareness, yeah. Yeah, getting angry is going to override that, and then she can... being angry, though, with a misbehaving child, I think, unfortunately, in the South, as well as maybe even in the Midwest of the United States, and probably Texas too, is acceptable. Like that's considered doing something about a child who's having a tantrum or an emotional reaction or whatever you want to call it.
Well, she was also talking to her friend afterwards saying, he better not turn out like his father, and if it has anything to do with me, I can't live with myself. That would be the biggest failing of life and all this shit.
That's really sad. Oh my God. I bet you just wanted to start passing out business cards to this woman.
Yeah, I was like, man.
Not necessarily yours, but just
I felt like
people's.
I was on a plane and someone had a heart attack and I'm a doctor and I just kept my hand down. It's like, no, too much liability here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
It's so hard, I think, as a therapist to relate to people after a certain point in our careers, because you just see the dysfunction, and it's like, yeah, I can't even engage with that. Like, I remember recently my daughter and I went to this event in our neighborhood to celebrate back to school. And it was a really simplistic, but very sweet little event where like you would go to the clubhouse and you would get ice cream, and you were supposed to sit with like the kids all going into your same grade, and kind of like a little meet and greet, right? But when we went, it was chaos. These parents of all ages, from kindergarten through fifth grade, were just letting their kids like run through this lovely clubhouse, climb on furniture, climb under furniture, knock furniture over, kick over chairs that people are, trying to sit down in. It was just bonkers. And Kate and I looked at each other, and Kate even said to me, she goes, I'm starting to get anxiety. And I'm like, you know what? I am too. Let's go. And we just left because it was too much. It was like there was no way to engage and have like the social. It was intended to be a social event. There was no way for it to happen because so many of these parents were not intervening. You could tell there's a lack of home training, is what I'm trying to say, and it just ruined the good time.
No one brought their leashes.
Yeah, exactly. Leashes. Put your kids on some leashes.
Metaphorical leashes, of course. We don't condone
I don't
leashing
mean literally,
children.
but like, yeah, I mean,
that only happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You at the Walt Disney World? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I got lost while leashed.
How many layers of incompetence is that to get lost while being leashed?
It's fucking terrifying. I don't even want to think about it.
I'm sorry.
You lose your kid while leashed. That's skilled.
Your parents must have been out to lunch at that era of time.
Yeah, we should also do an episode on Disney adults.
Oh, yeah. I can't. That's another segment of the population I cannot relate to.
Or the people that are like morbidly obese. Like they have social media accounts where they really advocate for being like 500, 600 pounds. And they'll complain about. So apparently Frontier or some airline recently has mandated that if you can't fit in a seat, you have to pay for the one next to yours also.
I think a lot of airlines have that rule.
Yeah.
I think American does. I think Southwest does.
And the people that are morbidly obese and on social media projecting about needing acceptance are quite outraged by this new stance from the airlines.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is not new. But at the same time, though, I think I saw something a couple years ago where somebody did an analysis of a lot of these social media influencer types who are also morbidly obese, and how many of them were still alive like 2 or 3 years later. And it wasn't many.
Really?
Yeah. And that was really sad.
So maybe it's their last attempt at absolving their shame, because they're in such a bad spot and then they're dying recently after.
Maybe. I mean, it is slow suicide. You are slowly killing yourself. And then it comes to a point where those health conditions accelerate. I mean, there's like diabetes, for example. That's horrific. That's a horrible chronic illness to try to manage.
Yeah, we ignore both ends of the spectrum, where someone who's morbidly obese or someone who's severely anorexic or bulimic.
Yeah, they're both one way, not necessarily one way, but they're both tickets to death.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, yeah, and it's slow suicide. I mean, because if you are overeating, you're probably suppressing something, like you're using food to regulate your emotions, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's allowing you to sever from something.
Escapism.
And I think that's why there's so much relapse with any addiction, really, is because then once you have to start confronting those underlying feelings, it's hard, especially if your skill set to do so is so new.
Mm-hmm.
Your coping skills.
Yeah, I think you're touching your mic or something. I'm getting a submarine sound.
Oh, I think it's my chair. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
It's like, yeah, sorry, rubbing up against this pole.
Yeah, but it's hard because what do we do in a group when someone is on either end of that spectrum, right? They're severely morbidly obese or they weigh 85 pounds. What do you do as a person who it's not your client? You didn't see them in that setting.
Oh, you mean like a social friend, like a friend in a social group? It's like the same thing. Like, if you have a friend who drinks too much and gets wasted while like you invite him to a party and you can reliably predict that they're going to get wasted. At a certain point, like if they're truly your friend and you care about them, all you can do is just mention your cares and your concerns.
Because I have seen, especially women at the gym, deteriorate. So I go consistently enough and for a long enough period to where I can see a woman. It's really sad, actually. Like I could see a woman coming in who looks pretty healthy, and then over the course of 2 years, she gets down to like 100 pounds, and is just obviously not eating enough and obsessively working out. And it's almost like you shouldn't be allowed in here. Like
wherein lies the duty of care?
Yeah.
That's such a hard question to answer, right? Because in the United States, we have this cultural facet where you're allowed to ruin your life. You're allowed to, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and you're between a rock and a hard place because you are a white male. And if you went up to her and said, look, I've been observing you for 2 years now. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. And I've noticed your weight decreasing. And if you ever want to talk about that, please let me know. Yeah. I mean, you're going to get your membership canceled for harassment.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Or even if you went up to her and you said, look, I've noticed that your weight is deteriorating and I'm concerned about you. Here are some referrals for Emotions Anonymous or Codependence Anonymous or whatever.
It's going to be shame evoking, and then I'm going to be
shame evoking, and you're going to be the bad guy.
Yeah, rage response.
And you would just have to be able to tolerate that. And the rage response. Therein lies exactly. And then when she dies and her family's like, why didn't someone intervene? Well, it's because we have multiple cultural layers that, at least in 2025, tell us it's none of our business.
And it's not worth it. And it's not going to do anything anyway.
Exactly. I mean, will it do something or will it not do something? I don't know.
Right.
It could plant a seed in her mind. It's just one data point of feedback. Where it goes is not anything you can control.
Yeah, so we're going into more of a theme of as professional licensed therapists being in dynamics in social groups where there's something very unhealthy or unwell going on, and electing to not have our therapist hat on and just be human and allow those things to unfold.
I mean, this is an aside, but I was reading this article recently about a man in Atlanta, who I don't know if he is today, September 1st, 2025, still in jail, but he was in jail in Atlanta for a crazy quantity of time, like months and months and months, maybe even like a year and some change, just the jail pre-adjudication, for allegedly attempting to kidnap a little boy out of a Walmart. And so if you look at the security footage, I think at the point in which I read this article, he was actually getting released on bond, but this poor man was not even given a bond for some ungodly amount of time that almost seems unconstitutional. And it probably was unconstitutional. But if you looked at the footage, the security footage, you could see this man asking a woman for like guidance as to where something is in the store. And this woman is like morbidly obese in one of those pushing those roller chairs, like electric cart chairs, while a little boy is like either in her lap or walking beside her. I don't know which. And so you see him approach her, and like from a distance, they're talking, not like right up on each other, but from a distance, they're talking. And you can see him asking a question. And that's what he says. He was looking for something. He goes off to find it. And then as he comes back to tell the woman, "Oh, I found it. Thank you," he notices the little boy like teetering on the electric cart and like almost falling. And so he reaches out, kind of rushes over to run for the little boy to help him so he doesn't get run over by this electric chair. And you can see this all taking place on the security footage. But then the woman starts screaming that this man was trying to kidnap her kid. Now, this man is an ethnic minority. So it's like her bias against him played into this.
And probably of all law enforcement that showed up.
And the law enforcement showed up and they arrested him. And it was so bonkers because the security footage shows you exactly everything he said that happened. But it was like her subjective interpretation of this man running towards her. It wasn't that she could hold this thought, oh, maybe it's dangerous to have my toddler riding in my lap on this electric scooter. Like that doesn't cross her mind. Instead, this man is just instantly guilty of attempted kidnapping.
So it was more important to make her feel safe with the cops than to figure out justice.
I don't understand why he got arrested because, the cops were highly biased as well. But that goes back to so then I was reading the comments, and the comments were like very heartbreaking. And many people who are either ethnic or religious minorities were saying that they too have had to learn the hard way to not intervene because there's so much prejudice against whatever, or stereotypes against whatever class they come from or ethnic group they come from, that
it's got to stay out of the way.
They stay out of the way because their quote help or their involvement will be misinterpreted
as threatening,
as criminal or threatening. Yeah. So you being a white male, if you said something, well, now you're a rapist, or whatever, because you're looking at her body.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you're really between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, if we create a reel of my comments about the girl that showed up to the camp out in see-through top, then I'm like sexualizing, and I'm some sexual predator now.
But you have a point though, right? Like, why is this? I mean, there's something clearly going on under the surface that this woman thinks it's appropriate to dress like that on a camp.
I literally saw
with half of her men there.
I saw half of her nipple.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that just reeks of sexual trauma, right? Like she has had sexual trauma in her life, because as you were describing that, I could totally see like one of my family members doing that because she has had sexual trauma and she thinks this is my value to men. This is how I get single men's attention.
And then the single men that observe that and don't have the wherewithal or self-reflection capacity to see that that's an unhealthy way for her to try to solicit men, and it's probably surrounded into her own low self-esteem and low self-worth. The people that pursue it are exponentially more likely to be aggressors. So it's kind of like that bait in the water, unintentional response from people with sexual trauma at times, is that we're inviting in further abuse without ever actually realizing it. Because there'd be no fucking way that I would ever entertain any kind of relationship beyond platonic with her. That's like, I immediately think, wow, this woman is very unwell.
Well, see, that's ultimately very self-protective, and I'm glad you do that, because I think a relationship with her could go sideways in many different respects.
But I'm also a sexual predator because I observed what she was wearing and made a
Oh.
value judgment on it. She's supposed to just be able to wear whatever she wants, right?
And there's
Hey,
truth
you
and
can.
you can. I mean, there's no law against it, right?
But
Except for
but
maybe
then you then wonder why every man you date fucking beats you or ends up in prison.
or just
No?
I mean, maybe not even that extreme, just objectifies you, right?
Yeah.
They're like, just if the relationship starts to feel like this guy is only here for sex,
Mhm.
that might be why.
Or he doesn't
Or a
have
contributing factor.
much more to offer. Well, that's the main bridge anyway.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be awesome though if men walked around in like tight shorts and
Banana hammocks.
exactly. There you go.
I'm gonna start going to sessions in a Speedo. My body, man. I should be able to
My
express
body, my
myself.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah, I
there
should be
you
able to
go.
express myself. Don't you come down on me, women. You
Or
women out
men.
there.
I mean, that might make some men uncomfortable too.
Yeah. Yeah, wearing a
That's
belly shirt in a therapy office, an interesting choice because hey, also, um, if you inverse this, right? If you think about being a therapist and what you're wearing to your sessions, if you were to inverse and be the client and you came into my office, I would be asking these same questions. Like, why are you wearing this? There might not be, but
mhm.
is there some kind of ulterior or secret ether that's creating like sexual dynamic, or is this how you try to prescribe your value into a relationship? Like, I would be asking myself all those questions to be a responsible therapist, and then have to reality test it and see if there's any accuracy. But like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't think I should have to be doing that with a therapist. If I could inverse them into the client and need to ask those questions, we should be more blank slated.
As therapists.
Yep.
Yeah, I would not want to put my client in a position of having to interpret my dress as to whether or not there's like subtle messages, right? Like, I love my Love Will Tear Us Apart concert t-shirt. It's not a concert, it's an album t-shirt from Joy Division, right? It's the Joy Division album. But I'm not going to wear that t-shirt with a client who might be going through a really contentious divorce.
Mm.
Even though one has nothing to do with the other, I don't want suddenly my t-shirt choice to be the subject of our session.
Right, because what we wear in part is self-disclosure.
Right, it is. Whether we want it to be self-disclosure or not, it's going to be
Like, I
self-disclosure.
wouldn't wear this shirt. It's the mill cyclery, right? It is literally a bike shop shirt. And I wouldn't wear it because each client I see that day is going to be asking me about, bicycles and if I ride and where I've been. It's not a topic of discussion. I don't need
Mhm.
to talk about bicycles to build a relationship with a client.
Right.
And I think a lot of therapists do. So they don't have the skill set in rapport building to realize you don't have to self-disclose to build rapport. And that's
No.
where the layman kind of enters the therapeutic dynamic and creates messes and creates this lure within like client perception of therapy that listening to what's going on in my therapist's life or their perspectives on my life is a big part of therapy.
Mhm.
I hear that all the time with clients. I'm gonna tell you all these skills that you can use. Like, I've had a number of clients recently. I try to, and obviously they're sharing specifically to me, so that's a bias in and of itself, and how they've chosen to share and what to share. But with previous therapists, especially with suicidality risks, it seems as though a therapist gets scared and then tries to be the expert and train the person out of suicidality,
Okay.
which isn't going to be very effective.
Like train them out of it. Like when you feel suicidal,
Do
do
this,
X, Y,
or
Z. Okay.
yeah, Yep. And so he's appreciated my ability to just have a real conversation and explore and be curious and not fearful of it.
Okay, like explore the function of the behavior, the function of the desire, the thought process, whatever
And
it is.
everything else that's fucking going on, right? I
Yeah.
think, like, as a therapist, when we get scared and we're not comfortable talking about something that might have high risk, we just fixate on that.
Mhm.
Like a client is way more complex than whatever you've deemed as their highest risk or their
Mhm.
most salient characteristic. And when someone has something like cutting or SI, they're going to get passed on from provider to provider, and they're going to go and hone in on that one thing. And they're like, it is big, right? And it's important to look at. But if everyone that this person ever meets is doing that, that's actually going to create a lot of harm
Mhm.
and a lot of labeling effect and a lot of people ideology and the way that they conceptualize who they are
Well, I
and their
think,
own identity.
and more concretely, then discussion of suicidality just goes underground and never gets addressed, right?
Because they don't want to be
Because they've
passed on
learned
to
it's,
the
yeah,
next person who's just going to fixate and get fearful and obsess
they just
about it.
learn that it's futile to talk about.
Yep, because they still feel that way, and everyone is just want to talk about it constantly.
Mhm. Hmm. Well, what are you learning, whether it's therapy related or not? What kind of new stuff are you learning?
What am I learning? This is ongoing, but relationally, I'm still learning and practicing all these different, very subtle ways that I can begin to operate in emotional manipulation with people. And I don't mean in the more overt ways where it would be like, you're a stupid bitch, whatever, and you can't leave the house, right? Not like that. It's way more subtle, where often I can elect to not say something in hopes that it will change the way that someone's emotion is experienced. Or
Do you have an
I
example?
will take responsibility for someone's emotion in hopes that it'll be like this comforting element.
Mhm.
And the often outcome of that is that I've kind of invited myself in to be the scapegoat because I'm the main variable in like the relationship's emotion, because I take responsibility or that it's my fault or responsibility to fix it,
But to
as
be
opposed to just allowing someone to have a feeling and not think that I need to change it or manipulate it in the way that I
to
am, just
avoid
to
being the scapegoat?
right. But it actually, I think, my attempts to avoid it invite it.
Does a person like double down on you being the scapegoat
It's not a specific person.
or
It's
persons
it's just it's me. It's not one person. It's how I interact with
with the
others.
world?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Hmm.
yeah, like this happened with a friend of mine who fucking blocked. He's blocked me for 5 months now.
Why?
It's pretty crazy. It doesn't really make sense, but he had invited me maybe a month prior to do a camping and climbing trip. He invited me and another one of our friends. We've all been friends for over 10 years. And my friend and I were like, yeah, sure, we'll come, whatever. And a week before, he's like, hey, I'm wanting to figure out plans for the camping, like food and stuff. And we both responded with, oh, we actually can't camp, but we'll be there on a Saturday for your, like, to climb with you on your birthday. And he starts sending a separate message to me, uh, very like defensive and objective, as if he's like a lawyer, talking
Mm.
about how I'm not invited anymore to the climbing. And at which I respond, "You're uninviting me because I can't camp? That's ridiculous." Like holding a fucking ground, having some
Yeah,
fucking balls.
like calling it out for
"Oh,
how silly it
sorry.
is.
Sorry, sir." That's how my other friend responded, and he's still talking to him, coincidentally. "I'm so sorry." Um, and then he's like, uh, do not reach back out to me unless you wanna have a conversation about our relationship." It's like I was dating a fucking 14-year-old.
What?
And I didn't say anything for like an hour, and then I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll call you like when you free." And it never delivered, so he blocked me. Like, dude, do you have a
Wow.
fucking personality disorder? Like, what is going on? But it's been a slow burn. Like he did this with
Mm.
a girl he dated and then married. Didn't talk to me for a number of years, and then has done it this time. He's got like almost 14 years in recovery, but he's just slowly since that divorce pulled himself away from recovery networks, meetings, and his friends.
Mm.
So he's like isolated himself, and a lot of those defective character traits are starting to be more pronounced. Because I'm like his main bridge into recovery now, and so he's vilified and distanced himself from me.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make sense. Like if you look at the overall pattern
Mm-hmm.
that leads to relapse. Oh, that's sad though.
Yeah, but I'm just a piece of shit. So
God.
yeah, he responded to me like as if he had caught me fucking his girlfriend. That's the way that he was. Like that would have seemed more proportionate.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
This just sounds like he was looking for any reason to not be friends with you.
Yeah, we went on a trip for 5-6 days in Colorado 3 or 4 weeks before. No issue. Lots of fun.
Mm.
Just went feral cat.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, so now I have to contend with all this and consider reaching out. But for the last number of months, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna be coming in too hot because I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm hurt. You've just completely abandoned me.
Yeah, because you
Literally.
should be allowed to have alternative plans. I mean, like it
Hmm.
can't just be his way or the highway, and that's exactly what he communicated.
Yep.
Like either you're available for 100% or I'm not allowing you to do anything.
Well, it's also like you didn't plan a 2-hour dinner. You planned a 3-day thing,
That's
and
unrealistic.
we're in our
And this,
fucking 30s.
yeah,
Like
life goes on. We have things to do.
this isn't a fucking birthday party, dude. This is a birthday weekend.
Yeah.
Like this isn't an engagement like party, or something.
But even that is
Or
hard to
bachelor
do.
party.
Yeah,
Right.
but even that, like that's you can't even have that expectation anymore because people have lives.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. It just sounds to me like something else is going on under the surface, and this is
Yeah,
just an
no shit.
excuse to let the surface, whatever's under the surface,
Yeah,
just
but
come to
I just
fruition.
I wasn't mean, but I was just like, yeah, are you okay? This is kind of ridiculous and unfair and unfounded. Just kind of stood my ground.
Hmm.
Um and it just created more reason for him. So
Well, keep me posted. Do you think that's a behavior pattern of his?
it is.
Okay,
Yep.
that's one thing I'm trying to do is be much more in tune to patterns rather than people's words. And I've done a
Mm.
really good job of that over the past 10 years, but it's something I have to constantly remind myself and stick to.
Yeah, I think it's helpful for with others and ourselves.
Hmm.
Because I can have all sorts of beliefs about myself, but if it contradicts an inherent pattern that I see, is that belief accurate
Yeah.
of where I am? Probably not. If there's this incessant pattern happening. So yeah, I guess that's where I am. I'm trying to break the patterns with respect to my fawning response, basically.
Hmm.
And it's just a form of manipulation, right? It's like,
So you're saying it's the fawning response that invites more scapegoating?
I think that's what I found in the last couple of years. It's like, oh, it's okay. We'll talk through this, or don't worry about it, or I'm going to make myself smaller because they seem to be more dysregulated more often.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, not to get too personal, but being the scapegoat is kind of like your childhood role, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think my childhood role was being the responsible one.
Hmm. I can tell.
Yeah, being responsible, low needs,
So we're like a sibling dyad.
I know, I
You're
think
like
that's why
the
you and I get along so
you're
well.
the golden
And
child. And I'm just
no,
like,
I
fuck
wasn't really.
everybody.
I mean, I'm sure my brother would have said I was the golden child, but I
I don't think
wasn't.
any actual golden child views himself as such, because
Maybe
it would
so, but,
it
like,
like
it wasn't that I
minimizes.
couldn't do anything wrong. It was just that, like, due to other circumstances in my family, I had to be the one who was responsible and had low needs. And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering then in my adult life, what am I doing to invite this? Because I'm finding this again and again and again and again and again. Melissa's just expected to be the responsible one without any needs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that probably in part comes from not vocalizing them or upholding them as often as others.
Yeah. So pushing back definitely creates friction, right? In relationships, like when when I have set up a dynamic of
Oh yeah.
being the responsible one.
They're just like, wait,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Why are you
I
doing
came out
this?
hot yesterday. I woke up and I was just like ready for war. And what did I find Mike doing? Oh, it was like 9:30. That I can't believe he actually let me sleep till 9:30, but he did. And I come out and the dog hadn't been walked yet. And I was like, he was sitting on the computer and I go, "Why are you on the computer? The TV's on and the dog hasn't been walked." And I just like came out and he's like, "Don't come at me. I've been doing work since 5:30 this morning." And he's like rattles off like all of the,
Yeah.
bullshit self-assigned tasks he's done. And I was like, "That's great, but your dog's been sitting on the couch needing to be walked." He's like, "Well, go get one of the kids to do it." And I was like, "Why is that my job? Like, it's 9:30."
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I could have handled it better, I'm sure, but I was just ready to point out that, like, he has our dynamic affords him the time and the luxury to handle like all of the downstream little ancillary responsibilities and tasks, right? That he can think is right here and important. But for everybody else to be like, no, that could be done next Wednesday. That doesn't need to be done today when the dog hasn't been walked, right? To me, like the dog needing to be walked is right here, and you're focused
Yeah.
on everything down the street,
Well, the hard part
downstream.
too, in trying to adjust the way that I show up, is to not be that pendulum that swings to one end from the other. Right. So
Mhm.
if I make myself small as some kind of maladaptive ploy to create resolution or understanding or bridging in relationship, then it's easy to have that all pile up, realize the tendency, and then just be abrasive and aggressive or like hyper direct with whatever I'm seeing towards someone.
Yeah, and that's probably how I came off yesterday was being hyper direct and abrasive.
Right. Because you're
Yeah,
swinging from that one side to the other side.
probably so. Oh shit, what's the middle ground then?
Hey, that's such a fascinating thing to explore with clients too, is being able to identify those two sways and then deciding I want the middle and what that looks like. It's
Yeah,
so
I got to figure
empowering.
out what that is because I know he didn't walk the dog or get one of the other kids to walk the dog because he is so used to, well, Melissa will just take care of it.
Yeah, but also it was probably not even a conscious thought. So
No,
I
it was
think
not
that's,
a conscious
but that
thought.
in the moment we're
Yeah.
reacting, because I do that too. Is in that moment it's easy to react with the assumption like he saw the dog and he said, you know what, fuck that, she's gonna do it. I don't care about her. Like that we're
Yeah, it
coming
is
out
easy to
as
come to
if
that
he's
conclusion.
said that to you when you woke up.
Yeah.
Fuck you, fuck this dog. I'm not doing this. This is your job. I don't care about you.
Yeah, it does feel like that in the moment for sure.
Yeah. And you're just waking up. I mean, relationships are tough, especially navigating one every day. There's so
Oh
many.
God.
There's just so many moments where
Yeah.
misperception and frustration and past emotion can come into the fold.
I have totally come to the appreciation and understanding, almost like non-verbally, only experientially, as to why women don't get remarried like after their husbands die. Like, I totally get it. Sad as that is. It's like, I have a cousin who got married in her 60s. Like, she's like 60, 61, and she got remarried. And I was like, why? Why are you doing? I didn't say that to her, obviously, but I was like, why? Why would you do that? Like, she's had this footloose and fancy free life for like 30 years since the first
Well,
marriage.
I don't know if widows choose to stay unmarried. I've always thought it's because they probably have kids, and that's a huge barrier unless you find someone with kids to remarry.
I mean, I'm thinking like women, especially who have like adult children, maybe it doesn't really matter as much,
Yeah.
or as much, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I like being married, but also at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck did I do?
You
I
gotta
have two
navigate.
streams of thought at the same time. It's so funny because like Mike and I went to Sedona this summer, and we went hiking, and I was so proud of myself because I haven't been on a Sedona or an Arizona hike in like nearly 20 years, 17 years since my second son was born. And we moved out here to this side of the country. And so we went, and my friends were like, oh, how was it? Did you love it? And I was like, oh, I absolutely loved it. And I only thought about divorce 1.5 times in that 4-mile hike.
We need to normalize thinking about divorce and marriages.
I have appreciated and normalized it for myself. Yeah.
That's
I was
good.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know it's like really thinking if like it gets really granulated and I'm like now in the lawyer's office and I'm dividing up the property and I know what I want. But the halftime just represented like, okay, I'm getting out of the car in the attorney's parking lot. I'm not like, the narrative hasn't gone all the way to the thought of signing the documents like it did the first time.
Yeah.
And then I think, what does this represent? Like, what am I really irritated about? And then that's when I focus on. Then I become more solution focused.
Yeah. And that relationships aren't static, especially marriages or a long-term romantic relationship. They ebb and flow.
That's it.
In terms of like distance and connection.
Yeah.
So it's just this ongoing attempt to come together is how I see it. You never really get there, just moments. It's like with a kid, like you like them like this one 5-second moment of the day, and the rest of the time, just like, man, what the fuck did I do? You're always trying to get back to that 5 seconds.
Yeah, of pleasant and feeling connected.